Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle. I want to thank everybody around the country, around the globe who are listening and watching the show. Had a little frost, a little flashback, East Coast flashback this morning on the windshield today, a little frost. You know what I'm saying? Am I going to have to buy an ice scraper now out here? Ryan, what's going on?
I hope not, because I don't want to buy one either. I like just getting in my car, turning on and going, and not having to wait, not having to worry about road conditions. Exactly. That's why we pay so much in rent, so we don't have to do that.
You have to do that, 100%. Raiders win, beat the Broncos again. They have been a kind of a monster at home. They really have under what you're looking for check marks for Antonio Pierce. The Raiders have been really good at home under his tutelage, and I can't tell you last time the Raiders have been a really good home team. Now, I think they got to fix what they got to do on the road, but I think part of that is because they don't have a quarterback who can handle the road situations. But like for the most part, I give them props. I mean, they have been really good at home, and that you can feel the home energy through the television set. Good job by the Raiders beating the Broncos.
Yeah, ended up 6-3 on the season at home. They played 9 home games. Next year they'll get 8. The schedule, the opponents are out. The home schedule looks much more favorable than the road schedule. That road schedule next year is very daunting. But they do have some games and some teams as of now. Obviously, the rosters will change, but it does look favorable for them to have another strong showing at home next year, provided the key players stay healthy.
Yes, no question about that. Your thoughts about the game? I know it's going to be part the game and part season wrap up, and then what's going on right now, because there's a lot going on today in the National Football League. So what were your thoughts about the game? I thought the Raiders obviously they did a really good job. You're facing Jarrett Stidham at home, a game you probably should win, but they moved the ball around. Everybody likes a 90-yard drive for a touchdown. Good job there. And I think that I think defensively, Kuntz hitting the quarterback, people making plays all over the place. It's fun to watch that.
Yeah, I thought the Raiders were the much more physical team. I thought even the score 27-14, whatever it was, the game wasn't that close. I mean, the Raiders were the more physical team, running the football early, playing good defense, getting to the quarterback. I think they had 5 sacks by 5 different players. Tyree Wilson got to the quarterback. He had 3 or 4 quarterback hits. Kuntz got there, Butler got there, Crosby got there. Some bad tackling in the secondary led to some touchdowns. They gave up I think it was 2nd and 22, a touchdown. They gave up a 3rd and 15. But other than that, they buckled up. They got the stops when they needed to. And then I thought the offense ran the ball very well until late in the game. And obviously the Broncos knew they were going to run. They stacked the box, and they kind of shut down the run towards the end. We were just waiting for Zamir to get over that 100. It seemed like it took him like 6 or 7 carries to get from 95 to 100. But when the Raiders needed to put together that drive to go down and kick a field goal and take time off the clock, they did it. I thought they controlled the game from opening to close, and they left no doubt that they were the better team than the Broncos yesterday on that Allegiant turf that got some bad raps by some people that wanted some Twitter clicks. I thought the field looked great, other than that one section in the end zone that everyone wanted to make a big deal out of.
And I would say, people say whatever they want. The players who played on that field, it gets good reviews. People like that field. So the people who actually do the work on the field, who need their resume on the grass, if you will.
Several players came out and said it was great yesterday.
Yeah,
they didn't understand what all the comments were. Exactly.
So it is what it is. I mean, the fact that the Raiders play on grass, I like that, and I think players do too. Trey Tucker, 5 catches, 79 yards, 5 targets, and you got Devontae Adams got his 100 catch as well. Listen, Tucker, if you keep this core of receivers together, They all bring a little bit something different, and I think Tucker is kind of that guy who a couple times a game can definitely get deep and make some plays for you.
Yeah, he got vertical, and then they did a good job of getting him going with speed vertically to create that cushion, and then they ran a couple of comebacks or quick stop routes, which are going to have to do with him. They didn't get him working across the field like they get against the Chargers, but they are learning how to use his speed. And then I would expect Adams, Myers, and Tucker all to be back next year at this point. Hunter Renfrow is a different story. I don't know how many snaps he got yesterday. I'm going to guess it's less than 7 or 8. Like, he wasn't out there very much at all.
Mm-hmm. No, and Hunter's on his way. Like, we know where Hunter is. Hunter's on his way to another team, no question about it. Zamir White, the running game. I mean, whether you bring him back, whether you bring Jacobs back or not, it's still good to see that a guy who was under contract, who we had questions about, when he got his opportunity, he shined. And I think and good for Samir. We got to get him in the end zone here. With some of these carries, all these carries he has. But I thought the offensive line and Zamir White did a good job in this ball game.
Yeah, I thought on that touchdown drive before the half, he had a chance on that long run. He cut it back inside. If he takes that to the side, up the right sideline, he might have a chance to score. The Raiders have completely changed the run game without Jacobs over the last month. You're not seeing hardly any inside zone anymore. It's all duo. It's all power. And they're running him between the tackles. You're not really seeing them trying to get Zamir White outside. When he does, he bounces it out there. He's showing you the ability to do that. Another stiff arm yesterday, so he's showing he has that in his bag. And he seems to catch the ball okay. Not great, but okay. You just that wiggle. Like, you'd like to see him make a guy miss every so often, a little bit more, and he could break up even more runs. But he's more than shown that he can carry the load in a 2-back system if they need him to next year.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, look up here. There's one other thing I want to talk about here, but I thought O'Connell was solid at home. He's been doing that. Let's flip it over to the defense here. Patrick Graham. I know people are kind of frantically saying they gotta do whatever they can to keep him. They gotta do whatever they can to keep him. I mean, he has to do whatever he can to like push his career in the right direction. So somebody actually gives him an opportunity to be a head coach. You can't ask him to stay with the Raiders to be a DC. But I do think if you have AP as the head coach, I would think that and Patrick Graham wants to come back. I think he's also under contract as well. So, like, I think that's an opportunity for the Raiders to kind of be solidified on one side of the ball so they can concentrate on the other side.
Well, first of all, there's 5 openings as of today, as we're recording this. Patrick Graham is not one of the top 5 candidates in the league for a head coaching position. So he will get interviews. Just because he gets interviews doesn't mean he's going to get the job offered to him. I would put it probably at 10% that he would be a head coach, 90% chance he's still going to be a defensive coordinator. I can't tell you whether that's going to be with the Raiders or another team. Obviously, they're going to give those guys permission to go out and look for jobs while they start their process. And we don't even know if AP wants him back. I've heard a lot of people say, well, this was McDaniels, the staff. Give AP his guys. Is he an AP guy? We don't know. I would assume yes, because of the way they played, but we don't know. What if he wants Marvin Lewis? What if he wants someone else? What if he wants a guy that he's had a relationship prior to Patrick Graham? So the fact that this is the only reason I say it is the fact that Mark Davis allegedly came out and said the assistants can go look for jobs, to me says AP's already told him, hey, if I get this job, I'm going to make changes so that you can let some of these guys go. I'm not worried about losing this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Mm-hmm. If AP wanted to keep all those guys in house and he was a strong candidate that we assume he is, I don't think the Raiders would do this if AP wanted to keep all these guys. So there's a chance AP stays and you're looking at a whole new staff anyways. We don't know what AP wants to do.
Exactly. And some folks who are, because like I said, I do go into the jungle, the Twitter spaces, and some guy was like really flipping out because AP might choose his head coach. I mean, his coordinator is his defensive and offensive coordinator. And I'm like, and he's flipping out because of it. I'm like, dude, like that's what coaches usually do. Like coaches pick their assistants. Like this whole like that Al Davis thing where he used to do it for them, like that doesn't take place. A coach has that autonomy to pick who he wants for his defensive and offensive coordinators.
Yeah, and he has to replace them when they get poached by other teams as well. So
exactly.
I do think this is going to be GM first, then head coach. So we may not hear information on whether it's Harbaugh or AP or whoever, probably for another 2+ weeks. The Raiders are actively, like you mentioned earlier, they have started their GM search request, and you can actually hire a GM much quicker than you can a head coach under the new rules, unless the Raiders just want to say, screw it, we're going to interview David Shaw and Marvin Lewis, and those are going to be our two minority candidates, and then we're going to hire whoever we want. But I think it's a two-man race. I think it's AP or Harbaugh. I put it 98%. There's a 2% chance they could probably go somewhere else. And it depends. If he goes out and hires a GM that, if it's not Champ Kelly and it's not Ed Dowds, who has ties to Jim Harbaugh, and it's a different candidate, let's say Adam Peters, what if Adam Peters doesn't want AP? And then you could be really open this thing up. But it's going to be really interesting. I don't think there's going to be clarity for a couple of weeks on where this is going to go. And the NFL is clearly trying to slow down these hires.
Yeah, no question about it. Can we just discuss a couple of names out here? Let's just say things stay pat with the Raiders. They get AP as the head coach, and whether it's Graham or not, let's just say he has his defensive coordinator. The guy on the offensive side of the ball, I know a lot of people have thrown out the name Eric Bieniemy, and while I understand that name is very popular for a lot of different reasons, I think for Ryan and myself, there's some real trepidation about his candidacy as an OC going forward because of what was pretty much put on tape this year in Washington.
Yeah, everyone associates Eric Bieniemy with the success the Chiefs had with Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is a big part of that. But Eric Bieniemy wasn't calling plays in Kansas City. He gets to Washington. It's all in his lap this year. They're starting essentially a fourth-round pick at quarterback, is similar to Aiden O'Donnell and Sam Howell, who's basically in his first full year as a starter. They refused to run the football. They were at the bottom of the league in rushing the football. They were at the top of the league in passes attempted. They gave it the second or third most sacks in the league. The quarterback was under pressure all year. There was no real adjustments to chip and keep extra guys in. It was literally, we're going to protect with 5. We don't care what the defense is doing. And you had several players. And besides that, they were like 24th and 25th in points and yards. So this wasn't an explosive offense, even though they had weapons outside. And just Google Eric Bieniemy on Twitter. There's several players on that Redskin teams that were like, I don't know what we're doing. We're just doing what the coach is calling, and whatever. He's the head coach or the offensive coordinator, so we have to do it. It was Logan Thomas. It was Sam Cosmi. I just put Eric Bieniemy in today, and I had like 4 quotes from 4 different other players that were like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what we were doing on offense this year. So we have to separate Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes and think that everything that happened in Kansas City over the last 5 or 6 years was a direct result of him. It was Andy Reid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would say this, if you want to give him an interview, you can give him an interview, like whatever. I mean, you can interview whoever you want. I mean, he's in that position, but there are some other names that I'd probably be a little bit more excited about. So I mean, and Eric Bieniemy wouldn't be one of them. I mean, so I would keep that. I'll keep that in mind as well. As far as the offensive coordinator goes, who are some names that you would like to see? Because they have to be able to obviously run the offense, do all those things, but they also have to be able to raise a young quarterback because that's not. I mean, AP is in charge, but he's not. That's not his forte, raising a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't have names per se, but I definitely want a guy who's experienced and who's done it for several years. That's kind of an older guy that AP can lean on for advice, but also understands the new way the NFL is going as far as formations and spacing and getting guys open. I see a lot of people on X or Twitter that they want the quarterback coach from here who's never called plays, who's 36. Like, I don't know how successful that would be to put them. One, they have to go in and install all the offense on their own, because AP is not installing the offense. It's going to be the offensive coordinator. They're going to have to make the adjustments. They're going to be a first-time play caller, so you're going to see a lot of issues. The same with some of the stuff we've seen with Bo Hardegree. And on top of that, you're handing hopefully a franchise quarterback and a rookie over to them, or even if it's Justin Fields, a guy that still needs a lot of development. I think adding that type of coach to AP it's going to take time. And if you expect these guys to hit the gates running early in the season and go out, and you want this to be a playoff team next year, or compete for that with a rookie quarterback, it's going to be hard to do that with a first-time play caller. And I know there's exceptions. People are going to say, well, Bobby Slowick is doing it in Houston with a rookie quarterback. CJ Stroud is a special quarterback, and he's proven that. That division's not very good. Like, they're not facing a Patrick Mahomes in their division. They have to go on the road and slay that monster. So I know Darrell Bevel's come up, and I'm sure if I sat down and just went through the teams, I could find guys. But if you're just looking around the league, you'd want to, someone from the San Francisco tree, someone that's down in Miami. I saw the name Clint Kubiak today. He was the offense coordinator for 1 year in Minnesota. It didn't go well, but because his name's Kubiak, I guess people want that name because he's with the 49ers. I've seen Brian Griese. He's been a 2-year quarterback coach.
Yeah.
I guess you could live with that, but he's never done it. And all these issues that we're seeing with Bo Hardegree, who's never done it, you're going to have almost those same issues again. Granted, you're going to have a way better system to run than what Josh McDaniels installed. But, if it's Jim Harbaugh, maybe it's someone from the college game that maybe has some NFL experience that's been around the younger generation and how the passing game's evolving there. If it's Antonio Pierce, you're probably going to want to go with a veteran guy. Maybe it's a Jim Caldwell. I don't know, but someone that's done it in the league, that's called plays, that's been a head coach, that's been around, that could give that advice to AP and even the clock manager. As much as we want to give him credit for yesterday, there were some instances in that 98, 99-yard drive where, like, he should have called timeout and didn't, and then kind of got lucky towards the end that they scored. It wasn't run greatly, but they ended up getting the result you wanted.
I think what the offensive philosophy, the person is going to be important, but it's the offensive philosophy. Like, I mean, are they running something that are they a disciple of Erhard Perkins? Then I can show them the door myself. If that's the case. But if it's something like they're running the San Fran offense, which seems like it's a way of really introducing quarterbacks into the league, like, and just giving them like throws that they can manage. And then as you can see the confidence build in CJ Stroud I watched some games at the very beginning, in the middle, and at the end, and you can see the confidence grow with some of these quarterbacks. I look at Geno Smith. I can see Geno Smith, like, the confidence grows when they play in that system, and then some of these quarterbacks who they get in that system seems to have the same kind of attributes. Being able to move a little bit, can make the throws, can make all the throws, all stuff like that. So if I'm a Raider fan, I'll be looking at that. But if Harbaugh, I mean, obviously we're gonna know I think we're gonna really have an idea about the Raiders, GM and head coach after Harbaugh makes his decision. Because the Raiders are, no matter whether you like it or love it, and I think that's been a really divide with the Raider Nation. Is like, it's some people are like, hey, like, do you guys realize I have people like coming after me about Harbaugh because I was like, actually defend. I got to defend somebody who's 45 and 19 or 45 and 15 as a head coach in the National Football League, and his teams in college have all been physical and been really good. Like, that's crazy to me, but like, people are really passionate about Antonio Pierce. I get it, but we after Monday night, after Tuesday, whatever, and who knows, a parade down there, and in Michigan if they win and beat Washington today. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's all about what he wants to do, and if he wants to do, and you call him and he says he wants more than what Gruden wants, then you got to make a decision if you're Mark Davis whether or not you want him to give him all that stuff, or do you want to say, hey, I'm gonna ride with AP and whoever the GM is, or hire a GM and maybe the GM goes in a different direction.
I think circling back to AP quickly, like, whoever it is, it's probably going to be someone that Raider fans aren't going to be happy with at the end of the day, in my opinion, because he's going to want to be physical. He's going to want to run the ball. You're going to see multiple tight ends. They're going to run the ball on first down. They're going to run the ball on second down. They're not going to be super aggressive. AP talks about being aggressive. He doesn't. The Raiders haven't played aggressive under AP. And a lot of friends, when you follow them online, if the Raiders go 3 and out, it's like, well, they're not being aggressive enough. They took their foot off the pedal. You can still go 3 and out and be aggressive. Like that doesn't be just because you don't score doesn't mean you're not aggressive. But if you're looking for them to spread them out and create spacing and get the ball to these guys like they do in Miami, like they do in Baltimore at times, like they do in San Francisco, that's not what AP has ever talked about as the Raiders interim coach. So you're going to get smash mouth 1980s, 1990s type of offense, and hopefully enough wrinkles in the passing game to move the ball when you need to. This seems to be the way that AP wants to coach the game and rely on those defense and field position and special teams. So if people think that the Raiders are going to come out and have a top 10 defense again next year and a top 5 offense with a new addition at offensive coordinator with a young quarterback, that's not going to happen.
No, I totally, that part of it is going to be true. Like, everybody wants to hit the ground running, but I think if the defense can be good early next year, and then you have a young quarterback, and then as he goes along, then that could be an opportunity for them to go ahead and win early, and then that could be a recipe to win early, and hopefully everything gets better there. Anything you want to take away from that last game of the year before we can, because I think it's time to kind of do like a season wrap up here, like a wrap up of what we saw from the Raiders this season.
I would add the Raiders need a new punt returner next year. As much as we like DeAndre Carter, you have to catch the ball if you're a punt returner. You cannot let the ball land to get down inside the 5-yard line. And it happened twice yesterday. One time they got lucky and it rolled into the end zone barely, but you can't give up field position like that. And he did it over the course of the entire season. This isn't a one-game thing. Like, too many balls are hitting the ground, even if you just come up and fair catch it. But they do need to do that. And I do think this game, it was 24-14 there, I think, early fourth quarter. This game should have been 31-10, like 35-10. Just the Raiders, the way the Raiders play offense, and I understand Aiden O'Connell's the rookie, but the style of coaching that AP has, if the defense isn't on point every week, if they're not going to come out and give up 14, 10, 13 points, the Raiders are going to play a lot of close games they probably shouldn't. Yeah. And he's going to allow teams to hang around. And if the defense regresses at all under AP next year, and you're not giving up, like I said, 14, 70 points a game, and you're giving up 22 points a game, that's going to cost you games with the style of offense that they want to play.
Yeah. I don't want to, like, I just
don't want to. And I like AP, and I actually hope he gets the job.
Yeah,
but
me too.
We have to be real too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like tie myself into like for his style of ball. I don't know what his style of offense is until he actually.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. We put it together. So I don't want to make a crazy thing about it. As far as that goes, as far as the season goes, I just thought it was a season that I dreaded, because I thought they'd be in this position. I thought they'd win anywhere from 7 to 9 games and not be where they need to be to like comfortably get a quarterback. Now, I think the Raiders as an organization, I think it's very comfortable. I'm hearing a lot of Justin Fields. I'm hearing a lot of, some people say, hey, why not just take a swing at Kirk Cousins? This stuff like that. Chris Martin shakes his head. I think it's time to get a little uncomfortable with the Raiders. And yes, to see all those picks go away you might sit there and feel like, oh my God, we're giving up this, we're giving up that. Like if you do it right, if you take this swing, first of all, you can't hit a home run if you don't take a swing. Like, I've never seen a player do that in baseball history. So you take your swing. If it doesn't work out, then you pivot to another guy, but like at the end of the day, in this draft, you have to go after a quarterback. You have to, it's quarterback or die. You have to walk out of here with a quarterback in the first round. There's not even really a conversation. There's nothing. It sucks that everybody knows you need it, but there's no other way for this team to function going forward without having a quarterback, a rookie quarterback under center next year.
Yeah, I like how the season ended, and I like the momentum in the locker room and how they're playing defense. But if you step back in the grand scheme of things, this is probably the one spot where you didn't want to end up picking 13th in a draft, where there's all these teams that need quarterbacks in front of you. The Raiders should have made the quarterback decision last year. And the fact that they kicked the can down the road and tried to go with Jimmy G, and the day they signed Jimmy G, if you guys want to go back and look at Twitter, and I said this only makes sense if you take a quarterback in the first round. I have it on record. They didn't do it, and this is where you end up with Aiden O'Connell, who's probably going to be a backup, who's serviceable that you can use if need be, but he's not taking you anywhere. You're not winning games because of him. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, first round quarterbacks are bust, don't take them. Well, the really good quarterbacks in the NFL, you can give me the Russell Wilsons and Tom Brady's, but go back and look at like they're all almost always first round picks. The guys that go out and get their teams to the playoffs and produce over and over again. You're going to miss. That's granted. There's probably a 40% chance that you're going to miss in the first round, but for the 60% that hit, it's well worth it. And I know people are talking about, well, just sit at 13 and hope someone falls to you. That's how you end up with Christian Ponder and Jake Locker and those kind of guys. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, maybe a Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes falls to 10. Yeah. But if you identify a quarterback in this draft, if whoever the GM and coach is, and there's probably 3 or 4 that are probably going to go before the Raiders pick, and you want one of those, by all means, go get them. Am I worried about losing 3 first-round picks if you answer the question at quarterback? No. If the GM misses and you give up 3 first-round picks and you whiffed, at least you can say you tried.
Yeah.
The Raiders are never going to go anywhere unless they try, and they haven't tried. And I know people are like, well, Brock Purdy's the 7th rounder. Go look at how many first-round picks the San Francisco 49ers hit on to build that roster before Brock Purdy got there. It's like 6 years worth of hitting on everybody. The Raiders are not anywhere near that position as far as roster building to do that. They don't have those kind of players on their roster to just be like, oh, let's throw Aiden O'Connell or some late round pick in there and they can win. And there is no Christian McCaffrey. There is no Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Fred Warner. There's no Nick Bosa. You have Max Crosby. But when you take all of those guys together, this team doesn't have those players. And the opposite end is if you sit there and let's say you a lot of people don't even want to take a quarterback in the first round. They want to wait till the 2nd or 3rd round. Let's say you go that route and you miss on the first round pick and you end up with DJ Hayden or just name any one of the Raiders busts over the last 10 or 15 years. Would you rather trade 2 of those guys for a chance to go get the quarterback, or are you just going to trust that you're going to get a superstar with each of the next 2 or 3 first round picks? I personally, with the way the NFL is going, if you really want to compete and build a roster, go get the quarterback, and then you can build everything around that. But if you don't have the quarterback, nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
I saw a report today. Peter King came out today and said he fully expects the Bears to trade the number 1 pick. I don't know where he got that information, but if you're Chicago, to spin this real quick, would you take 4 first-round picks for a team outside the top 10? Or 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, and you still have the 9th pick, and you can still use Justin Fields for 2 years. And if he doesn't work out, you have 3 number 1s for the next 2 years, and then you can figure it out. Maybe. It's going to take a lot to get the number 1. I think the Raiders are probably more in play for 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range. It's going to be easy to get there, but it's going to be uncomfortable for the Raiders to trade the picks.
Yes.
But you have to do it. You can't want to win every game. And that's part of the problem. The Raiders think every season we have to do everything we can to get to the Super Bowl, and it just hasn't worked. They've never really built correctly. And if you're winning 7, 8, 9 games a year and you're picking in the middle of the first round, it's going to be really hard to answer that quarterback question. And when they moved on from Derek Carr is when they should have technically they should have done it well before they moved on from him. But they kept him. When they moved on last year, they should have done it. They didn't. And now, if you can bring this whole defense back, which they pretty much can, there's not a lot of free agents on this team that they need to bring back.
Yep.
Almost the whole core of this roster is in place. Now's the time. Devontae Adams isn't getting any younger. If you miss on the quarterback and he's a bust for the next year or 2, then you move Devontae and you recoup some of those assets. But if you're going to keep if you're going to go rookie quarterback, I would at least try to keep Devontae for one more year just to see. And if they hit the ground running, then you restructure Devontae's contract in 2 years and try to keep him for a couple more years. But if you look at how the salary cap in Devontae's contract, they basically have him for one more year, and then the cap hit goes up to like 36 or $37 million, which is unfeasible for a wide receiver in his mid 30s. So you got 1 year with Devontae. Go get the rookie quarterback. If it doesn't work out, move Devontae, recoup some of those assets. But sitting at 13 and getting the fifth or sixth best quarterback in this draft is not the way to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Go get the quarterback. That's start playing games before you press. It's kind of like you gotta send something to somebody who you know it's gonna. You gotta send it, but you know they're gonna be upset. You just gotta just press send.
As good as Trayvon Merrick is, and Trayvon Merrick's a good player. Like,
yeah,
I would trade a second round pick, or they hit on that one. Would you be willing to lose him and 2 first round picks for a quarterback? Absolutely. Like,
absolutely.
I can replace Trayvon Merrick, and I love Trayvon Merrick.
Yes, exactly.
But he's not a difference maker.
He's not. And the quarterback is Ian Rappaport just reported that the Giants are parting ways with defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. So he's on the market now as far as that goes. If you're looking for defensive coordinator, which the Raiders could be looking for a defensive coordinator. So we never know. We never know what is in the mind of AP. So we can't say whether or not he's there or not. So a lot of breaking. This is where it's actually like it's all the year you have the X or Twitter app. This is actually when it's actually fun to have the app, because you get and you follow the right people, you get some really good news. And again, if you look at a team that is ultra talented, have a lot of pieces on both sides of the ball, and you look at Atlanta's that team that like they whiffed on the quarterback, but like they didn't get the quarterback right. And it seems like if they got a quarterback, you would see something really good in Atlanta. They don't have the quarterback, so nothing is going to be right. They just fired their head coach. They
should have taken Fields, like we talked about, and
yes.
They didn't, and they settled up with Ritter, and that didn't help them.
Exactly. So and yes, and you said everything. We said everything. So as far as that goes, that's what should have been done. They didn't do it, and that's why they're paying the price for it now. And to me, you take these jobs not to become the next Bill Belichick or Don Shula. You're going to get fired. Like you're a GM, you're a head coach. Like, yeah, it's a cool job, but like you're gonna get fired. So at least if you take the chance on the quarterback, you have an opportunity to stay for a while. Like to be there for a while, to actually watch your kids grow up in that community, stuff like that. Like if you go there and you don't take you don't take a swing, then you're gonna sit there and you're gonna sit there and just like not and not be able to function in that system. Like, I mean, it happens. Like you're probably going to get fired within a certain amount of years. Like if you hit on the quarterback, you get to stay for a while. And that's what you're gonna find out in Houston, and places like that. So take the quarterback, stop playing games.
And we talked about this 2 years ago. You want to align everybody on the same timeline. So yes. Whether it's Champ and AP, next year's consider their first year together. Whether it's Dowds and Harbaugh, whether it's Peters and whoever he brings in, you want to make the quarterback decision now. You don't want to wait a year, 2 years down the line, and then everyone's time frames are a little bit different. Because if you wait 2 years and you don't answer that question, whoever they hire as a coach this year, no matter who it is, they won't be here. They're going to be out of here in 2 years, and then you're starting over there. If you take a shot at the rookie quarterback with the way the wage scales are set up now, and you're wrong, it doesn't cost you much on the cap. At that point, if you need to pivot and go get a veteran quarterback, you can do that. But the only way to get these guys and get these cheap contracts is you have to take them in the first round. There are hits in the second round, you can go down the list, whether you want to say Derek Carr or Andy Dalton or some of these guys. Drew Brees obviously was a hit in the second round, but there's way more misses. We don't talk about the Marcus Tuiasosopo's and the whole list of second round quarterbacks that just flamed out.
Was he good?
We don't talk about all the sixth round quarterbacks that flamed out. We talk about Tom Brady.
Yes, exactly.
We don't talk about all the third round quarterbacks that don't make it. We talk about Russell Wilson, but the Raiders just need to do whatever. Identify whoever it is you want. Now, granted, there is an asking price. Like if it's way too much to get the number one or number two, I totally understand that. But to miss out on the top, there's 4 guys here that I would be very comfortable with. To miss out on one of those 4 because you don't want to throw in a first round pick, it's not going to be worth it at the end of the day.
No, you got to get that.
Just go get them.
Just go get them. Just go get it. And I know it's competition. I know that it's not like it's what is what. But like you look at this roster. Look at this roster. You have to go out there and go do it. I mean, you have to go do it. It makes it's no other conversation. Go ahead.
I could throw you one more step further. Let's say they don't do it this year. The quarterback class next year is not very good. So if you're thinking about getting a quarterback in the 2025 draft, and whatever you want to say about Sanders at Colorado, whether you believe he's a guy or not, it's not a very deep list. Maybe you're going to get Quinn Ewers, who I don't really like at Texas as well, but it's not a deep list next year. As far as quarterbacks, Carson Beck, and then we're into the old guys, the Riley Leonards, the Tyler Van Dykes, the Dylan Gabriels of the world. Like it's not a good class.
No.
If you want a quarterback, do it now.
Yeah, do it now. I mean, and then that has to be if you're and like you I love when Ryan laughs. It's like that because it makes sense. And then part of being a general manager is to have the foresight to see that. Like, okay, we need a defensive tackle. Well, you know what? This class has a lot of them. Let's grab one now, maybe even 2, because the next 2 classes don't have defensive tackles. Same thing with the quarterback, like you just mentioned. There's no quarterback. There are no quarterbacks really coming out next year. And I've seen Dylan Gabriel up close. He's you don't want that. You don't want that dude, but yeah, you don't want that dude being your quarterback. So go out there, get the guy this year. I mean, it's cool to bring him to the game. I mean, he brought him to the game, brought him to the locker room last night. That's cool. I mean, AP's trying to lay it on thick now. As far as that goes. But like, go out there and get the quarterback, and then we can talk about everything else as far as that goes. But yeah, unsuccessful season for them. I was like you, if they got Jimmy G and they drafted Levis, I'd have been like, okay, I can live with that. Like, I can live with that. We got a quarterback in the future, whether it's a guy you want it or not. They have a guy under contract, who's a future quarterback. They don't have that right now, and Aiden's not it. We know Aiden's not it. So it's time for the Raiders to step into to new football here.
And wondering why the Raiders haven't had a quarterback in God knows how long, because they've never drafted one in the first round. The last 2 were
they don't take them.
I mean, they missed on Marinovich and they missed on Russell. We know that.
Yes.
But those are the only 2 they've taken since Mark Wilson, which was like in 1980 or 81. I think it was 80. But
yeah.
They've taken 3 in 40. It's gonna be 43 drafts. They've taken 3.
Yeah.
That's not good enough. Like you're not going to win long term. Like you gotta develop your own.
Yeah, I mean, the Pats have taken a bunch of quarterbacks. The Packer fans are with their chest out today. Why are they out there? Why are they out there with their chest out today? Because last year they were in a moment where the same moment they are in this year, winning you're in, and Aaron Rodgers left, and it was all this gloom and doom, and they gave Jordan Love the opportunity to play, and Jordan Love with over 30 touchdowns. Looked really good. Has looked really good so far as a quarterback, and they went from and like I'm not sure what Love's going to be down the road, but he had a good year this year. But they went from Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Love. So you got to just keep drafting quarterbacks. Like you got to keep doing it. You got to keep acquiring quarterback. It's just like any other position. So I'm not sure why the Raiders have been terrified of doing that. It just makes no sense.
I will add this, and the whole Michael Penix medical issue, a lot of people are like just brushing it off. I can tell you as a fact that in draft rooms, they do not brush it off. The medical staff, there's going to be teams that probably take him off their draft
off the board
because of the medicals.
Yeah.
They're just going to take him off
100%
based on the MRIs and what their doctors. The executives in the room don't make those decisions. The medical staff does, and the medical staff tells the GM, take this guy off the board. He comes off the board. It doesn't matter if that guy goes in the first round with another team. I've seen it firsthand. So there's going to be teams. You're going to hear reports of teams taking him off the board, or they have a 5th or 6th round grade on him because the medical people in the room and the doctors don't think that he's going to have a sustained career. And they might say, one team may look at the MRIs and say, yep, he's good to go. And another team may look at him and say, in 3 years, we're going to have real issues here. Don't take him.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's it. So I mean, it's almost like it's also like the coaching staff when the player comes off the field. If the medical team says he can't go back on the field, guess what? He doesn't go back on the field. They take the helmet and they take the helmet.
I saw a couple comments yesterday, and people are like, "Well, it's not a problem until it's a problem." Well, if you take him in the first round, it becomes a problem next year. It's a problem.
It's a problem. That's a problem.
And if your medical people said don't take him and it becomes a problem, then it's a real problem.
You have some of the best athletes in the world who are going to, and you have some of the smartest defensive coordinators in the world, defensive minds in the world who work in the NFL. Who, if you do take Penix, yes, like their job is going to be to not have him finish a game. So like you have to like, you got to think about it. I'm not saying I'd be for if he was the only guy left, like fuck it. Like, you know what I mean? Like we got to take a quarterback, but like it comes with a gigantic risk. And you can have the biggest, baddest offensive line in NFL history, Raider history. You could bring back, Gene Upshaw can have a son. You can throw him on the line, like all that stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, like he's still gonna get hit. And can he survive those hits? I don't know.
If I was in charge of my medical people signed off and they were okay with it, I would take him in the first round at 13. But that decision is not going to get made until probably April. Exactly. He's going to go to the combine. He's going to have a medical check up there. He's going to have a medical recheck. He's going to have medical checks at each team facility. And those teams aren't going to solidify that draft grade on him until a week or two before the draft. So you're going to hear him all over the place over the next probably 4 months, and with valid reason. Mm-hmm. He went through 4 seasons he didn't finish. He's had multiple ACL injuries. He's had multiple shoulder injuries. Mm-hmm. And those aren't things to scoff at.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, Raider Nation. The season's over. Wasn't the way that we actually wanted it. We would love to be talking about a playoff game right now, but we're not. This offseason, we're going to try to do whatever we can. I'm doing everything I can, work real hard to get to ramp up the guest list for us. I know it's a long off season, and then we're going to kind of structure these shows so we talk about some real things. What I really want to do is to kind of break down like what how to structure this thing so it works, because the Raiders need. I mean, not that they're going to sit there and watch our show for direction, but just so fans know how like some of those things, like even that comment you just made right there, something I knew, but I don't think fans know that. Like the medical staff kind of runs certain things of teams. I think people just say, oh, somebody's going to walk in there and just say, hey, I want that guy, regardless if he had 5 ACLs. Like it doesn't necessarily work that way. So just so you know, it does not. All right, Brand Nation. Take care. And then we'll hit you on the next one. Peace.
All right. Take care.
Yep.